For me, the garden was a place of healing to the soul. It was as if from the growth of leaves and flowers and shrubs, there exhaled a silent dew, which brought comfort to the heart, blistered by the sultry suns of life. The intercourse of men and women is often harsh and chafing. Little irritations like nettles lie hid along the paths. But the silent growth of a garden communes without speech, and every leaf becomes a healing. That's how it was for me, then and always.
During the spring and summer, I was allowed to tend the garden outside of my prison unit. As I stepped outside, I breathed in the air, the sweet air. The air smelled so sweet, not the sugary kind, but just a hint of nectar mixed with spice, ever so slight. I breathed in slowly as much as I could and exhaled the same way, savoring it. I knew it would vanish soon.
I have always felt that she who owns a garden truly loves it and can identify herself with it. Every tree she has watched its progress from first bud to last shoot, each flower from seed to bloom. To her, every plant has its history, and a part of her own history, a portion of her own life, has grown up into it and with it. She remembers when this was a twig, and that a seed.
To those on the outside, this garden may appear small, but as I sat on my overturned bucket in its midst and gazed through the wildflowers, annuals, and seagrass, this patch of land was infinite. I breathed in the deep aroma of the earth. My hands were my garden tools, as spades were not allowed. I loved reaching into the earth, cool soil between my fingers.
The care of a garden is a constant parable, a constant spiritual lesson, and never have I had such smart thoughts as have come in my garden work.
Sitting in the middle of the prison garden on a Sunday morning was such a precious time, uninterrupted quiet. The women who attended church were a chapel, the walkways quiet, the guard posts still, no unforgiving clatter on their walkie-talkies, or harsh commands barked in grating voices. There was no laughter, nor weeping, just glorious, beautiful silence. It was unusual to find my solitude in a land that only reaps pain. How tragic that my rapture existed only in isolation from my own species, humankind.
When I was a little girl, I remember playing in the fields on warm summer days, how I always searched for the beauty in nature and always made the cutest little bouquets of pretty yellow flowers, as I called dandelions back then, and gave them as a gift to my mom. As I grew older, I learned that those pretty little flowers were considered weeds. Weeds! Imagine that. The bouquets I made for my mom with so much love were just weeds. I wonder why she never said anything about it. I guess it's good she didn't, because it taught me to judge for myself rather than by a set of preconceived rules of what true beauty is. That's why now, as an adult, if I could make a garden with whatever flowers I wanted, I think I'd have to leave room for some of those weeds. Because, you see, I am part of a garden in which, by many standards, everything in it should be weeded out and burned. But come, take a closer look. You might find how out of us weeds, the most beautiful, pretty little flowers might grow.
are the little moments that get lost in the cracks and crevices of our lives. Do they hide out like lint in the bottom of a coat pocket, or a penny deep down in a couch cushion? What happens to those little moments that somehow get stored in the corners of one's memory? All the things we forget to remember.
Those old dusty boxes, stored away in the attic of one's soul, stacked up, taped up, labeled with good intentions for future use. But when's the last time we visited that untouched place and sorted through the things we forget are important enough to keep? Seldomly do we cut away the packing tape, lift the flaps, and look inside.
Instead, we busy ourselves with the mundane, life's demands, hardships, resentments, guilt, and the wasteful kind of nostalgia that leaves us behind. Yet we accept that as living, and we welcome those little moments that make us smile as pleasant little interruptions. And we choose instead, time and again,
to grin and bear it, to endure, to breathe through the pain. And we forget to remember
that it was not always that way.
One thing that used to anger and frustrate me in prison was that I felt I had no voice. So I'm dedicating the rest of my life to being a voice for those still in the hell of solitary confinement.
Locked in, locked out, locked in, locked out,
myself, in myself, in a wall, can't get through, just can't find the key, just can't find the key,
locked in, locked out, locked in, locked out,
myself, in myself, in a wall, still won't budge, just want to be free, just want to be free,
Uncontrollable minutes, hours, days, months, and years. They go by, and where do they go? Births, deaths, sufferation, separation, botheration, regret, forgotten, not dead. Locked in, locked out, locked in, locked out,
myself, in myself, in a wall, still won't budge, just want to be free, just want to be free. A time to live, love, cry, learn, and never forget. Seasons come and reasons they go. Time forever, moving never stops. Counted days, weeks, months, and years go. Endless years, confined in space. Waking hour at a different pace. A time for this,
a time for this,
a time for that,
a time for that.
hurry up and wait. Locked in and locked out, 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 locked in and locked out.
It's count time. I'm climbing onto my bunk. I've been here for a few months now, each day convincing myself to hang in there, knowing I'll be getting out any minute. I've been doing everything the correctional officers tell me to do, following all the rules, acting as if I'm staying, but I know I'm not staying. I've been waiting with certain anticipation for a visit from my counselor, about a call from my lawyer, my family, my girlfriend. Someone, definitely someone is coming to deliver the good news that this was all a big mistake. And of course I won't be staying 3 years. Someone is coming to spring me from this place any day now. I just know it. I'm sitting cross-legged on my bunk. Through the long, thin window of the locked door, I see the CO approach. He makes a mark on his clipboard. He's counting me. I swallow hard. I see reality in my rearview mirror and there's nowhere to go. It runs me off the road and I hit the wall. 4 walls of cinder blocks surround me. I can't go home. I can't walk back into my house and find my coffee cup right there on the counter near the sink where I left it that morning. The morning of that day I knew I was coming to prison. I better figure this out.
Count time.
Kite.
Classification.
Shank.
Chow.
LOC.
Ticket.
Lockdown.
Shackles.
Convict.
Cell.
CO.
Seg.
CTQ.
Bid.
Commissary.
Blanket party.
Contraband.
Code blue.
Body alarm.
Signal 14.
Good time.
Court run.
Strip search.
LOP.
Inmate.
Wreck.
Parole.
Furlough.
Snitch.
Escape.
DOC.
Cert.
Code purple.
Signal 11.
Lockup.
Black box.
LOM.
Pardon.
Disgrace, regret, loss, humiliation, defeat, remorse, shame, hostility, destruction, guilt, embarrassment, rage, disgrace, regret, loss, humiliation, defeat, remorse, shame, hostility, destruction, guilt, embarrassment, rage.
A new language, one I am forced to master, stripped of my will to resist, a dialect necessary for ultimate survival. I took French in high school, but dropped out. I always wanted to learn a new language, but I never thought I'd lose pieces of my soul in the process. I should have stuck with French.
For the past 16 years, I have been able to ward off the darkness of prison with the shimmer of light that shines on me when my family comes to visit. That brief hug and kiss is the familiar contact that reminds me that I belong somewhere. Now, the never-ending feeling of the coronavirus has allowed that blackness to creep into every crevice and crack that is broken in each of us in here. Social distancing saves my life where I'm able to make sure that I don't worry about getting or giving the disease to anyone. However, the virus has made me take a few steps back where it comes to searching for the connection that anchors me. Yet, it is hard when you feel like you are stuck in the shadows while life keeps on going. We are human beings that crave the bond and human connection that allows us to walk the light and dark line without falling into the darkness completely. I need that touch of a mother and child. Until then, I fall.
Did I hear you calling? Thought I heard you crying. Did I hear you crying in your room last night? Somehow, maybe someday, some way, somehow, maybe someday I will make it through the night. And somehow, maybe someday, some way, somehow, maybe someday I won't have to fear that fight. I thought I heard a moan coming from your room. It's all so crazy now, all this doom and gloom. Did I hear you crying? I thought I heard you crying. I think that I was crying in my room last night.
Meeting up with friends, bars and restaurants, dinner parties, sporting events, and the wedding. It could have gone either way. Sometimes you drove, sometimes I did. It was bound to happen. Most of the time we drank. Sometimes we didn't. It's the way we were living. From the beginning, I was glad that I was the one who lived. Not because I wanted to lose you, not because I'm selfish, not because I'm afraid to die. It could have gone either way. It was bound to happen, the way we were living. I've always been grateful that you are not the one living with the consequences.
I push the heavy courtroom doors and find a seat in the back. Body shaking, palms sweaty, body going hot. My name is called. The prosecutor reads the list of my crimes, my bad decisions. I hear the judge give me my sentence, and the icy cold of the metal handcuffs grips my wrists as my hands continue to sweat. I am led to the bullpen with the rest. Feet and hands chained together, we are stuffed into the truck which will take us to prison. We slide side to side, smashing each other as the truck turns corners. We arrive, men yelling, cussing, looking me over. I am scared. Cavity search, surrender, violation. I become a number. I am put in a 10-man cell. I recognize 2 men from high school. You went to Hill House, right? Yeah, I went there. And you were on the drill team, right? Yeah. I am irritated. What the F are you doing here? Long story. I am ashamed. I don't think I can do this. I stay in my bunk and don't move. Yo, you gonna eat? I ignore them. Now move to the dorm, a maze of beds. I find my bunk. I try to sleep. In the middle of the night, I can hear some men whimpering and sniffling. I don't want to cry myself. I miss home. What are you in for? A DUI. A DUI? You'll be out in no time. No time seems endless. There's a young dude that has been here before. We become friends. We look out for each other. It helps. The days crawl by, then someone asks if I braid and plait hair. We've got a braider, someone yells. We exchange hair braid for some ramen noodle packs. A crowd of men gathers. Me next! Okay. I braid hair every day until I leave. 30 days straight. Survival. Braiding hair. Until I get my life back. Until I can put the pieces together again. I braid.
Will this be the day? Will this be the day I lose my sanity and discipline? Will I start screaming and never stop? Will I curl up into a ball and become a baby? Every day I pushed insanity away. Every day I had to find that strength. I had to find within me the will and determination not to break.
Alcoholism hides in the darkness, often behind a facade of smiles and laughter, masking loneliness. It waits for an opportunity to escape the shadows, express the pain, attempt to erase it. But the numbing liquid only creates a false sense of connection. It cannot ease pain, only add to it. What it has erased are the good times, the memories I want. Those are elusive, blurred, and faded. Not that hour, though. That poison-filled hour when you and I met. We drank together, laughed, pretended we were happy people. The moment the illusion shattered. That hour is etched deeply in my memory. It's clear. It haunts me always. The moment you were abruptly and silently, tragically silenced forever. The hour my alcoholism crawled out of its dark shadows. Since that hour, I've lived behind barbed wire. But I do live. Christopher, you do not. How will I ever forgive that?
There was a crooked man who walked a crooked mile, had a crooked cane and a crooked style. He had a crooked smile and had a crooked name. I chose to walk beside him upon that crooked lane. I chose to follow suit and play his crooked game. I was curious to learn his tricks and enjoy those crooked games. But oh, how I mourned most bitterly when I learned what with crooked came. How many people wounded along my crooked path? Count the spirits broken from all my crooked talk. A multitude of eyes have wept due to my crooked tasks. How many ways can a man be crooked? Too many ways to ask. And though I cried many crooked tears, my crooked days became crooked years. I came to detest all my crooked wiles, hate those crooked steps, regret those crooked miles. With time and age I felt convicted and sane enough to say, perhaps I'll walk a little straighter. Try it just this once. Try it just for today.
Wake up in the morning, check my head. Gotta get ready for my day ahead. Feeling depressed, out of control, I'm a mess. Can't be consoled, indifference. You need a scapegoat, that's been me though. Cause what I need, oh, is A-T-T-I, attitude of G-R-A-T, gratitude. You need an A-T-T-I, attitude of G-R-A-T, gratitude. Depressed, jaded, dismissed, suffocated, spiraling in despair. Are you there? Do you care? You need an A-T-T-I, attitude of G-R-A-T, gratitude. You need an A-T-T-I, attitude of G-R-A-T, gratitude. I wake up in the morning, check my head. Gotta get ready for my day ahead.
Doesn't matter if you don't like me, 'cause for the most part, I like me.
It doesn't matter that you call me by my number, because those that matter call me by my name.
It doesn't matter that you don't know my story, because those that do understand.
It doesn't matter that the clothes we wear are different color. Our blood still runs red.
It doesn't matter that I don't fit in, because I remain true to myself.
It doesn't matter that unlike you, I can't walk free. We still breathe the same air.
It doesn't matter that it took my incarceration for me to make something of myself.
Better late than never.
Right?
These cops and prosecutors are so shady. Slave master to a slave camp in a different shape and form. Then, I was blinded to the hype of America, land of the free. I was 16. I took a classmate laptop. Of course, the cops was called. Yes, I was charged with a robbery. Anybody knows that a robbery means jail time. Nobody was there to advocate for me right, so I copped out to a larceny and received probation. Damn, my life is over. Might as well keep causing havoc into my life. That is what I thought then. After all was said and done, it finally caught up with me. At the age of 18, I had 8 years to do. I did my time, and my eyes was open a little to this world we live in. I was not into the midst of trouble anymore, but I did have loved ones that I hung out with that were. So one night, I'm celebrating my brother's birthday with him. We were riding in the car. The cops tried to pull us over for a robbery that occurred that night. As I sat in the car and watched my little brother get tased up, my door swung open. I got beaten over the head with a gun. In my head, I'm thinking, what did we do? What did I do wrong? As I was on my way to the hospital, the cop told us we were going down for a robbery. In their eyes, they really thought they had a couple of suspects to pin this robbery on. But they got the whole information wrong. The victim identified the suspect as 2 white males, not 2 black males. One of them was an employee at the dollar store that got robbed. We were clear that night of the robbery, but they still had to figure out a way to cover up what they did to us. They knew I was on probation and the charge would mean a violation, and I would be back in prison. They claimed that I assaulted one of them, but how could that be? I was handcuffed. Time was offered to me. What did I do? I refused it. I fought and learned about the rights that were never taught to me in my life on the streets. Finally, I beat the case, but they found a loophole to still give me jail time, 5 years. When I came home, I hooked up with people that showed me how to use my voice about what is wrong in our neighborhood, state, country, world. My story is not unique. It's one of many stories of the system that is set up for black men such as myself to lose in life. I'm a good fighter with a fist, but a better one with my voice that sounds out my mouth from a human body.
Some say the root of evil is greed, or the green-eyed monster we create. Compassion is what we all need. I say the true root of evil is hate. Tell me, why do you hate who I am? Tell me, why do you judge the color on my skin? Does it really matter who I love? And does it make a difference that I pray to God above? Can't we stop all this hate? Isn't it time to accept, applaud my fate, to extend an olive branch There is a reason we met by chance. Tell me why do you hate who I am? Tell me why do you judge the color on my skin? Does it really matter who I love? And does it make a difference that I pray to God above? Tell me why do you hate who I am? Tell me why do you judge the color on my skin? Does it really matter who I love? And does it make a difference that I pray to God above? Please tell me why.
Being the only one is sometimes an out-of-body experience. Makes you even question who you are. Black girl, Jamaican woman, American, human, ghetto, poor, ugly, misunderstood, intelligent, resilient, important, black girl. In crowd, out crowd, no crowd for me. Always feeling like you can't belong anywhere. You go out there and you're the only one. An outsider on the inside. Stuck between two worlds. Stuck in the middle. Create two selves to survive. I split myself in two just to be one with the others.
Going to school trying to receive the proper education, but only receiving the proper fighting lessons. It didn't matter to them why I had built up anger. The only matter of fact was I was wasting their time and I was looking like danger. Time after time after time, searching and looking to find myself. Thought liquor and drugs would do it, but all I'm doing is jeopardizing my health. Probably would really matter if I had wealth. 2 legs, 2 arms, birthed from a woman. I went from a baby to a boy to a full-size grown man. So, that make me a human, right? I can't tell when people trying to take away my human rights. Cage me like an animal and take away my hopeful nights and made them into hopeless nights. It wouldn't really matter until in their eyes they could see that black lives do matter. It wouldn't really matter until in their eyes they could see that black lives do matter.
If we can't allow diversity, if we can't accept our differences, if we can't see one another as equal, If every race can't begin to function on an equal footing with every other race in this world, we will never be able to unite, which means we will never be able to demand economic justice for all. We won't be able to advance as a species.
My spiritual search in prison has gifted me with the understanding that softness of water can conquer hardness of stone. And darkness is where light shines brightest. Only when I am empty can I become filled, and God speaks loudest in silence. Using that logic, it stands to reason that freedom can be found behind bars. While others may see this chapter of my life as a bad dream, to me, it's more like an illuminating nightmare.
I pray, if it rains tomorrow, may it wash away the pain. And I pray, if the sun comes out, it'll warm you with its rays. And I pray, if it rains tomorrow, may it wash away the pain. And I pray, 'cause I know everything's gonna be alright today. Yesterday, my world, it seemed so bleak. I fell down, tried to get back up, but I was feeling so weak. So I raised my hand up in the air, 'cause I knew somehow, someday, somewhere, you would be there. And I pray, if it rains tomorrow, may it wash away the pain. And I pray, if the sun comes out, it'll warm you with its rays. And I pray, if it rains tomorrow, may it wash away the pain. And I pray, 'cause I know everything is gonna be alright today.
Each year, on Yom Kippur, the Jewish day Yom of Kippur Atonement, there is a moment where one, quite literally, stands spiritually and emotionally bare before God and asks to be written into the book of life for another year. Worshippers announce their transgressions, naming their sins, beating their breast with the fist, as they consider their transgressions against each other and against God. I have forgiven and have been forgiven, but which of these acts is more powerful, more freeing, more meaningful is debatable. The alternative, clinging tight-fisted to rage, incredulity, and fantasies of revenge, which allows our brokenness to persist, our victimhood, and wallowing to parasitically feed off of our humanness and our humaneness. To forgive is to start the long road back to oneself without the appendages of indignation and regret, which add weight and burden to every step. Jewish tradition tells us that we must seek forgiveness 3 times before it is granted. The wronged, are obligated to forgive. But a willing heart does not have to keep records or make tally marks. The question is always right there. Will you forgive? Am I forgiven? It is only when we tiptoe out of our desperately scraped lines in the sand and say please and yes that we will see our name in the book of life again. Forgiveness unlocks the door, turns the pages, and lets the light back in. Don't we all deserve that?
The silent growth of one beloved flower, the culture even of one rosebush, might teach us many things that human weakness is apt to forget. There are some seeds so long in germinating that the unexperienced florist gives them up for lost. But when hope has failed, up they spring at last. And such upspringings tell us not to despair of spiritual seed, equally dead to hope, which by some future shower or quickening may have like upspringing.
Life continues as I stand still, stunted in my growth, suppressed all those emotions deep. The destruction will be nuclear, poisoning all I love. Stuff and stuff is all I've done. The destruction now has begun. Hurt people hurt people. It's me I've hurt the most. I'm trying to contain the fallout. Band-aids won't work anymore. Hazmated, I go in, cleaning up as best I can. Healing, apologizing to the casualties I left behind. Love begins to sprout. Tentatively, delicately, like a vine, it wraps around tight.
What if I took pieces of my past and just let them go? You know, the ones that hide in the corners of my soul, lurking without purpose. What if I toss them into the air like a sparrow? Would the spirit of the wind catch them with her delicate fingers and give them to the healing waters of the ocean? Or would she ask the clover-speckled fields to bless them first? What if she whispered in my ear that the universe rejoices when we give up parts of ourselves that no longer serve us? Would she grab my hand and dance with me? Would she gather threads, remnants, and swatches from my past and weave a bridge from them so that I could dance barefoot across to the other side, light and free?
In the precious moments between asleep and awake, I can forget the loneliness where I am and why there is a hole in my heart. In these moments, I am warm and lazy and in love on a Sunday morning. I'm making plans to sit at your side, holding your hand. In these moments, there is no talk of crimes and courts, trauma and loss, the marriage of deceit and money. I'm not too sensitive, too controlling, to this or that. In these moments, someone wants me, for me, sees me, hears my story, judgment-free. I'm not branded a sinner, a snob, or a rich white bitch. In these moments, I feel my dreams lift and leave me changed and inspired and far from who I've been. I think I'm going to be beautiful someday, so that I am worthy and wanted. And I can stop running and pretending I don't have to be okay, because in these moments, I'm free.
There are still more than 80,000 men, women, and children in solitary confinement in prisons across the United States, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. That figure doesn't include county jails, juvenile facilities, or immigrant detention centers.
When we plant lettuce, if it does not grow, we don't blame the lettuce. We look for reasons it isn't doing well.
It may need fertilizer, more water, less sun. You never blame the lettuce.
Yet, if we have problems with our families and friends, we blame the other.
But if we learn how to take care of them, they will grow well, like the lettuce.
We leave you with that thought.